affecting each of our organizations, and nonprofits will be the focus. The Chamber Cares Initiative is focused on 3 things. 1, understanding how the Chamber can help you, your organization. 2, how your organization, the people in it, the services, the assets, the resources that you may have that you are not using, how they may be of assistance and service to others, whether they be business, nonprofit, or individual and community. And the 3rd element is that same, if you will, paradigm, business to business, business to community, but outside, if you will, the walls of Foster City, per se. And what we've been doing is really just trying to understand the level of resources, information, and resources that you have needed to be able to navigate for your own entities throughout. If you come to the Foster City Chamber homepage, which I'm sure many had never visited previously, we've been doing everything we can to create a landing page that allows anybody to come to that page and be able to jump to our key partners. And so what you will see there are links to ca.gov, to the 2 pertinent areas, links to the county on the public health side of things, link to SAMCETA from the Economic Development Association for the county, where we are really housing a single source listing of all of the substantive business resources and general community tools. Opportunities to be able to volunteer, links to those applications. We will be adding the Samaritan House link to our homepage, really as the only other entity. The county is managing resources, and I'm sure Bart will share that with everyone a little bit later, but there is a county online volunteer page, and we are linked to that page. And because Samaritan House will be taking on even greater responsibilities that they have, we want to make sure that we give our community at large the opportunity to engage directly with them and not necessarily have to route through a secondary channel. The calls that we've had to date, we have now held 5 of them over the course of the last week and a half. And we have learned the priorities from various stakeholders. And what we try to do in these calls is not necessarily talk you to death and to necessarily present information, but rather, what are you struggling to understand, or what do you need? And allow us to work with you and the network and resources that we have available to us to either address those questions if we have the answer, or work to facilitate getting an answer, or in the case of resources and needs, to be able to make the connections to allow you to work with partners to do so. So I'm going to stop there for a moment and ask that if anybody has any specific questions that they would like to try to address now. If not, I'm going to ask Bart to give a bit of an overview as it relates to the efforts at the county related to nonprofit, and perhaps some of the things that he has learned and is learning that can affect your organizations. And then Dan in particular, to be able to share with him literally some things that we've just been learning in real time that may help you pivot, which is our adapt and pivot seem to be the 2 words that we're taking on today. If that's a good place to start, then I will ask Bart to kick us off, if you don't mind. Thanks for joining us again.
Well, happy to help our fellow nonprofits out there. Believe me, we know the struggle. Why don't I start with resources immediately for your staff? If you have been having to lay off staff in this process, you can't find a way to pay them. I know that Joanne and Dan can tell you about the CARES Act, which may be very helpful, and it's important to get in line early in terms of payroll support. But if you've had to let people go off your payrolls, or if you end up having to do that, Samaritan House stands ready to give your staff and their families whatever assistance we can. So we still operate massive food programs. We still have our 2 free health clinics open for people who are uninsured. And we have a range of financial assistance, rental assistance, and this is coming through a variety of sources. So, you know, we're a starting point for you, and I would encourage you to make sure that people are taken care of. That's what we're doing for the whole community, and you are a key part. So let's talk about a little bit about what I know that the county's doing so far, and what the Silicon Valley Community Foundation is doing. The county itself is trying to raise funds through San Mateo, I forget what they call it, San Mateo Cares, you tell me, but this is a fund that they are contributing an initial $3 million to, and then we'll try to raise funds from there.
So let me interrupt you. Let me interrupt you. Let me interrupt for just a quick second, because this is not something we want people to get confused on. The initiative is the San Mateo County Strong Initiative.
Strong. Thank you.
Just because if we say CARES, it's going to confuse folks. So please continue.
No, that's fine. I was looking for the correction because words are failing me right now. So anyway, the county put into San Mateo County Strong $3 million of its own money to start, and will raise money otherwise. Some of that money they'll channel directly to nonprofits. Some of it they will work through Silicon Valley Community Foundation, as are a lot of the different fundraising things you're seeing. But coming back to what the county's doing, they put $1 million into augmented financial assistance for people impacted by COVID. So that's to do the rental assistance and things like that that I just spoke with you about before. Samaritan House will be the channel for distributing that through all of the 7 core agencies, including us, that cover the entirety of San Mateo County. So whether you're in Foster City or you got somebody who's living and working in Pacifica or Pescadero, there's coverage for this, and we'll see to it that it gets out in the form of assistance. The second pot of money they are still working on, it's another $1 million that they put in there, and they're looking at channeling that through for support of the shelter operations that they contract with, and the core operations just for those. So I'm not seeing that as available to the nonprofits generally. The third pot of money, another $1 million, they are trying to work out how they would support the needs of small businesses, which can include people who are sole proprietors and stuff like that. That's not worked out at all. At Silicon Valley Community Foundation, again, they are also collecting both on their own and through a variety of other funding mechanisms you see around you. They're turning out to be a major channel for funding. So they have broken their pot into 3. One is, again, for financial assistance to individuals and households directly, and they will distribute that across a 10-county area. In this county, Samaritan House and Second Harvest Food Bank are going to be taking care of the lead on that. They have another fund, and this is one you're going to want to know about, because if it hasn't already, the guidelines will come out. This will be to support the needs of nonprofits during this time frame. I have not heard anyone that is going to make up for example, you know, galas like the one we had to postpone, but they will have a granting process, and their processes tend to be a little easier than the ones we're all used to. So look for those guidelines coming from them. Sobrato Family Foundation has already done something very similar and put out some guidelines. That's a place for you to look now for support. Lastly, at Silicon Valley Community Foundation, they're also going to have a pot for businesses, again, small businesses, etc. They have not worked out those details. It is very complex for all of these funding sources to figure out how they're going to deal with for-profit businesses of any size. But for nonprofits, we're used to that. We all know the grant process. So that's where you should be looking, and you should be aware of them. Volunteer-wise, the county is running they're doing a very good job of having a centralized volunteer bank where people can apply, and then you can connect as a nonprofit if you're seeking volunteers to help you during this crisis. There are a lot of people out there, good people. They're not working. They got skills. They're community minded. They want to help us. So if you need volunteers, if you've had volunteers who had to drop off because of, fear of infection, they're a good source. We're at Samaritan House, we're also collecting our own. We manage about 4,000 volunteers, but I can tell you that the county's doing a good job. Their link is on the Foster City Chamber website, and I believe it's also on the Samsita website. So those are a couple of places that you can go for those resources. And I would appreciate it if Joanne and Dan, if you would fill everybody in on the CARES Act and what may be available to nonprofits as small businesses.
Yeah, no problem. So as you guys know, I'm just gonna jump right in. There is the CARES Act that was released. They've got some additional information right now regarding the payroll protection plan, and the portion of those monies, loans, are eligible to be forgiven. It is a constant rolling or double swing door at the moment as they're rolling out new parameters and new things to send out to everybody. Joanne and I, and please feel free to jump in, Joanne, we were encouraged that we heard in one of our meetings that the applications for these loans for small business within the parameters and nonprofits will be open tomorrow. And I'm going to post in here a link for that stuff for you guys in the chat in a minute. And I want to make sure that you review it, and I'm encouraging everyone to please talk to your own bank, talk to those individuals that you know of or have relationships with if you're looking to cover some of the loss in staff at that time or at this time. And one of the big things that Bart was talking about, and I appreciate, is the volunteerism. Our companies are very much built on the backs of those who dedicate one of the most precious resources, and that's their time. And so one of the other things that we've been doing, Joanne and I, in these meetings, and Bart, you've been a part of it as well, is we're kind of reaching out to everybody to ask what they need and ask if they are able to help support other organizations. So we have things of that nature that we know we're constantly looking for. We're trying to bridge communication and networking between companies that normally would not have any conversation because of the worlds that they're in are so separate and distant. But now we're finding that as we rewrite this rule book, or this concept of what it means to be a community and a group of individuals, we're all very similar, and we're all working together to help each other in any way that we can. So we've got a bunch of those items here. I've got some links that I'm going to be putting up for the emergency loan, the SBA information. I'll put that in the chat for people to review and go over. And then I will put our email address, which is info@fostercitychamber.com. I will put that in the chat as well. I think, and I'll throw this back to Joanne, but I think what we really want to do is we want to hear from you guys what you're looking for as a nonprofit. I've got data and data and data, like I'm a data monkey at the moment, but I don't want to overwhelm everybody, because I want to hear from you guys. We want to hear from you guys what you need, what you're looking for, because then that'll help us kind of drive what information we give you and how we can help you. So I'll toss it over to Joanne if you want to go over anything else or do that, and I'll start posting things into the chat.
I'd actually, the overview that we have is if you have not already visited, I've got an echo, so I'm not quite sure what's happening. Let's start here, and I don't know if everybody knows how to use the function of raising your hand, but I can see everyone. So have you each had an opportunity to dive into learning what resources? I mean, I don't want to presume that everyone is just only interested in the financial side of this conversation. So You know, this is an intimate enough group that we could actually hear from each of you and understand the areas that you do want to discuss. This morning we had 25, and candidly, I'm not really sure if I was quite successful in doing that, but this group we can. I know the village has rejoined to be able to have a conversation. So maybe we start with you, Supriya, and kind of help us understand what is it that the village is, help us understand the services that the village is able to offer right now. So help us understand, you know, how COVID-19 is impacting the day-to-day operations of what the village has, you know, is responsible for, and where and how you've adapted your services, and where and how, you know, you are in need. That would probably be a great place for us to start if everyone's open with that, and then we can follow that model across the whole.
Sure, thank you, Joanne. So we at the Faster City Village our mission is to build dynamic community, and we are primarily focused on our seniors, our older adults, and we seek to provide them with whatever resources and whatever services they need, so as to help them live complete and full lives within their own homes. We provide, I would say the biggest value for our members is providing transportation, and we provide all kinds of transportation. As I go through the services, I'll also sort of talk about the COVID impact. So when we talk about transportation, we've provided transportation for to all of our social and educational events, and we have a number of them because we want our older adults out of their homes and into the communities, engaging so as to prevent social isolation. So all of our social events have been put on hold. So to that extent, we have actually needed less volunteer drivers. But on the flip side, we have also continued to provide rides to doctors' offices and groceries. So those two are our primary areas of where we are continuing to provide services. There has been some drop off on our volunteers because many of our volunteers are also older adults who are more mobile and more active. But given the risk to them, some of them have dropped out. So we are kind of treading a very fine line between having sufficient volunteers and having insufficient. It actually varies very much day to day based on the demand. But so far, I would say we are keeping our head above water.
Sorry, go ahead.
So that's on that front. On the transportation side. We also have some other subsidiary programs, 3 other subsidiary programs. One is called the We Care, where we actually reach out to our most vulnerable members in their own homes. These may be members who are unable to get out of their homes, or they may be just members who are diffident about getting out of their homes. And we reach them at home with home visits, check-in calls, and such. So we have, to make up for the lack of being able to visit them, we have actually stepped up and ramped up our calling. Also, at this time, we do have sufficient volunteers to do the calling because many people have stepped up both their volume and then we've had some new additional volunteers in that space, especially since it's remote. I think this is an area we are able to fulfill better than, say, rides and in-person visits. And then we also support, we partner with the city and Rotary and HPSEC to provide food to low-income seniors as well as the disabled through the Second Harvest Food Bank distribution that happens twice a week. We have succeeded in keeping that program alive and well, and we have had to have significant workarounds to the processes in terms of how we actually do this food distribution, so as to make sure we keep in line with all of the guidelines that were recommended. So that is going good. Now, the last one I would say is where a lot of our needs lie is we also partner to provide cooked meals to seniors in their own homes. And this is through the Meals on Wheels program. So we partner with them on that. We have had some drop off in volunteers. And what we have, we are, like most people, lacking in sanitizers, hand sanitizers, gloves, masks, because we just don't have them. So the volunteers are doing without them. We are looking also for we are expecting some loss of income generally on membership, given we've had to scale back on some of our services. But we are, and at this point, we are sort of looking for things to supplement. We want to be able to enable and continue to support our volunteers. We want to be able to provide them with gas cards for mileage, sort of those kind of subsidiary things. For now, we don't do that much, but we want to be able to provide some additional support for volunteers who are doing it.
So if I may, that was an amazing illustration and summary. And so one, I'm going to ask if you would actually take a few minutes to put that together in an email for me. That level of detail, believe it or not, is exactly what is going to be beneficial to us. I can tell that Bart's ready to chime in on a couple pieces, but here's a great illustration of where and how your chamber is trying to work with you. The conversation about the social events being canceled. My question to you is the village thinking about adapting some ability to be able to do anything online with its seniors? Is it working with any organizations to do that? Are those programs available? If they are, it would be great, for us to know, because then we can promote it and link it and find other ways in which to get greater engagement, as well as the potential of new ideas and new games, or new ways in which to engage with the seniors. So we don't necessarily have to discuss it in total here, but as an illustration, kind of going through the items that you've listed. When it comes to transportation on groceries, I'm sure that that's going to be one of the things that Bart's going to share. About the partnership with the city, the Rotary, and the PJC on Second Harvest. You know, one of the things that I had been seeing on the news was that and this is really going to be more of a question, I think, for Bart, is that a lot of the donated food to a lot of these organizations is, if you will, running out per se, and that the costs of being able to purchase the foil containers and the gloves and this and that are starting to make the cost of the pre-prepped food really expensive. And if that's the case, then is anyone in the organization or any of the organizations really looking to say, look, by the time we do this, it's taking more people, B, it's taking a whole lot more funding. Is there a more efficient way? So is there an opportunity to partner with any of our local businesses that are FDA certified to do pre-packaged foods, pre-packed meals, and be able to get that type of coordination in place? I'm going to stop right there because those are kind of three topics that I think Bart can address. And then I want to come back to you on things like the gas cards for mileage. Again, if we don't know, we can't make an ask. We have relationships with different organizations that may be able to provide $10 prepaid cards for the benefit of helping seniors and kind of infirm to be able to do these things. But we don't know what to ask for if we don't know what the need is. And we've been very thoughtful in our requests. And it's been one of the things that those that we are making the asks of have been really appreciative of. We're not going to them and saying, hey, we need cash, we need everything, right? We're trying to say for this organization, for this, if you will, stakeholder community, for the seniors, for the ones that are the most vulnerable, here are the best resources and here is the priority of their needs. Are there areas you can help? So I'll stop there and kind of turn it back to Bart if I can, to provide any input on some of those items that Supriya was referencing.
Yeah. Actually, just if I may, Bart, just a minute. I also wanted to reach out to you in the sense that since we are sort of focused on, while we do serve, want to serve the wider community, we are pretty focused on the senior community. So where you were talking about Joanne, about us helping each other. So, and I heard from Bart that from the morning call that he had a surge in clients at this particular time. So if there are people in the Foster City area that perhaps we could help, given that now you know about the kinds of services we offer. So I'm thinking that maybe we could help you in our geography at least, right? So I'm turning it over to you. Just wanted to know that we're open, and I would love to talk about it if you feel that we could help support you in any way.
It's probably something we can do for each other in that regard.
Yeah.
And the best bet, rather than with me, is to call our client services department and to talk with them, tell them what need you have. We certainly provide hot meals, and these are dinner meals, unlike the Meals on Wheels, which are lunch meals. And we can provide, again, we're the major partner for Second Harvest Food Bank in the county. So we can provide a lot of the packaged stuff if people can drive it. Now, what's interesting is, Sujira, at least at the end of last week, most of the new community volunteers we were getting were people who are interested in driving, not so much in preparing the meals or in packing. I guess they were looking at their own safety. So those are the kinds of things you could talk with our client services or food department about and see, where there's some cross-pollination. You should know, everybody should know that Second Harvest has moved, as have we, to everything being prepackaged. It's necessary under these conditions. So if you're getting packages of meals from them or from us, they're going to be, if they're pantry foods that is not cooked, they're going to be already prepackaged in a box. We run a drive-through at our headquarters just across, from Foster City over there on Pacific Boulevard. But that's the way they're going to do it. All of our hot meals are individually packaged, so you can talk with our folks about how to arrange that. In terms of the sanitary supplies, the safety supplies, those are in short supply everywhere.
Yeah.
And anyone who finds a source of those things, it would be wonderful if you could share it with others. The other thing that I would say that is really important for those that operate actual locations during the COVID crisis, that is, you have something going on at a location, whatever it may be, we are now under some fairly strict guidelines as to safety. That's more than social distancing. If you're not aware of them, the county health department published them, and you're going to have to abide by them. So that's the kind of information we need to share with one another. I know some of you are so small and you may not be dealing with this regularly, but this is very important for the safety of your staff, your volunteers, and your clients. So know that the county has new guidelines, and they're more stringent than they were a week ago.
Yeah. Thank you.
So I want to move through a couple other points, and then we can move on to someone else. The loss of income and things like that, please go to our site or feel free to go straight to Samsita. I believe, and I know Mara's on the call somewhere, I believe that both Dan and Mara had shared with me some information about the nonprofit specific information. And to the best of my knowledge, I think we had pushed that out in a direct mail. If you had not received that already, we'll get that to you. We had gotten in front of that curve because obviously the programs, they're standardized, and then there's obviously different things for nonprofit. And I also think it's important, I am not going to presume that every nonprofit on the call is a 501c3. The chamber happens to be a 501c6. There are also accommodations for that. Right now, keep me honest, Bart, there's a 501c19, correct? And the C3, are those the two that are being predominantly taken care of in the general guidelines that have been kind of released to date?
C3 is all I've seen, so I'm not aware of this, the 19. It could well be, I don't know.
Okay, so we'll continue to watch and monitor that, but I would suggest monitor our source, and if you've not already, go ahead and subscribe to the SAMCETA newsletter. If nothing else, that'll be a good pivot point from a first in, as SAMCETA is working very closely with the county. So we're trying to have a single source landing jump, but if you want to start to receive newsletters, make sure you're signed up to ours. If you're not already, please make sure that you're on ours, and then I would suggest that that would be a great secondary source for you. As it relates to like gas cards for mileage and whatnot, if there are those, if there are specific asks that you know benefit your model, that helps us. It helps us direct the inquiry. It helps us know where we can go to help, as opposed to a general blanket statement of saying, gee, it'd be great if we had some token of thanks. We all are going to interpret that very differently, and it would be much more beneficial if you help direct us, because we are really doing our best to say, this is what you need, and here is where we can get it. So if you would put that detailed summary together for me, Supriya, and get that off, we'd appreciate that. I know that Vice Mayor Gihani had encouraged you to reach out to him.
Yes.
One thing I want to share with you all is that we have been championing the need for what I'm going to call as a hyper-local strategy. While public health is the #1 concern related to COVID-19, and the county has the lead as the lead agency in COVID-19, as Bart was sharing with you, as resources are becoming available, they're becoming available at the county level, and there will be a priority given to those resources of individuals and families, health and wellness as the priority, then to the nonprofits, and then to, if you will, the quote, local business. And business is a very loose term at this point. One of the significant gaps that we see is that Foster City has not yet embarked on discussing if it will have a hyper-local strategy to accommodate the needs of its community that are currently not deemed as essential. And right now, as you know, city operations, capital city operations, except for essential services at the city level, meaning police, fire, emergency responder, city continuity of operations, everything else is closed. That's one of the primary reasons. I mean, with all due respect, Mara is 30 feet away from me and I'm on the other side of the building. Who would have thought that the Chamber of Commerce was going to become the essential service? But we have been trying to be that link. And as a result, over the course of the last 2 weeks, understanding those needs, we have really strongly started to advocate for what we need our city council to do. Just yesterday, we began to, let's just say, heighten that discussion. And in that discussion, it began predominantly focused because, again, people think Chamber of Commerce equals, quote, business, and Chamber of Commerce equals members. Let me be clear. Chamber of Commerce means economic health and vitality and quality of place of Foster City. And this chamber has been operating on providing free membership to just about anybody to give access to everyone that we can work with. In that conversation, which started about doing our best to try to get some level of grant funding available immediately to our own local businesses, we took the opportunity on behalf of all to say, while I appreciate that you think the conversation with us needs to be limited to business, right? Retail tenant company. Please understand that for the equity of our community, if this topic is going to be addressed at City Council, please understand that we would like to ensure that City Council makes monies available for all, and that there may be criteria that is differentiated based on type, individual, entity, or otherwise, but we are certainly not advocating solely for the business. Monday night, City Council will have the agenda item to discuss COVID-19 on their, City Council will have COVID-19 on their agenda for the first time. It will be the first public information. It will be the first time our City Council is able to have a dedicated, thoughtful conversation about the impacts on its own community. I encourage each of you, not only for your own organizations, but to share within your own networks, that you follow the staff report, you see what is on the agenda, and remember that we can no longer simply walk to the podium or, you know, share our remarks. If there are asks from all of you or from other organizations, you're going to need to put those considerations in print so that they can be read into the minutes at the council meeting and be made part of that public dialogue. So I'm going to stop there because everyone's sick of listening to me. And I'm going to move, if we will, to another to understand how we can help. So whoever wants to go next.
Paulette, why don't you talk about what Rotary's doing right now and how you guys are pivoting from a Rotary standpoint, if you're able to.
I actually don't have much information right now. I've been actually out of in Santa Cruz since this all started, so I haven't been in touch with anyone.
Okay.
No problem.
Then that leaves, you know, you're the winner.
Tanya, is it right?
Yeah, and she's on
yeah.
mute. There you go, unmute.
Yeah.
Hi, yes.
No problem.
I'm actually here just feeling that we are a membership of 300 strong. We are an outrigger canoe club, but I wanted to offer our services. I'm not asking for anything. I'm not asking for any money. I am the president of HPSEC for this year, and I just wanted to know how we can help. And I'm looking at the Zoom group chat and getting all of your information, and we're here. I mean, we're here. We're not practicing. We're not on the water. We're not, you know, we're following all the rules in terms of we're not on the water, but just wanted to know how we can help, because we are part of your community. I live on the coast in Pacifica, and listening to you, Joanne, that, you know, our mandates are now countywide. So I'm here for support and to see how we can activate our membership, because we're so grateful and feel so part of the community. That's it.
Well, that's just it. Honestly, you're kind of making me get all like teary, and most people, we joke about this, but most people don't think I'm human. So you guys can't share this with anybody. So here's what I'm going to ask, because I honest to God, no one knows your assets better than you.
Yes.
I would, and I know I can literally feel that there's people that want to like dive into your living room with you right now. If there is a way that you can, I hate to say it this way, it sounds so clinical, but almost inventory whatever it is of your 300 individuals, you know better if they're, you know, younger, older, like what capabilities, etc. I'm no doubt you've just heard kind of the needs for our seniors and our more infirm. Bart is going to have a list a mile long for you.
Right.
But then again, we also do. I mean, the Chamber of Commerce has one member of staff. There is no CEO, and the volunteer board has, is doing all it can. There's even the opportunity, if there's value in simply doing this level of outreach and touching someone, we even have the need for a call bank, right? To be able to say,
Absolutely.
how
Sure.
great would it be to just say, hi, we're calling on behalf of, and we want to know if we can help, how can we? So I'm going to turn it back to those who have great need, because honestly, that's just selfish. So let's start, if I can go back to you, Bart. If you had your druthers.
I meet these guys out on the canals when I get off my butt and get in my kayak. You have a lot of younger members, and unlike many of us who have older volunteers. And I would imagine many of them are working from home, maybe even furloughed. They're probably coming from all over the county and all over the area, if I remember correctly. Every one of the agencies out there has needs for volunteers.
Okay.
So to start with, encouraging them wherever they are in their local community, even if they're not Foster City, to get signed up to volunteer. I guarantee you our fellow agencies, wherever they live, whether it's in Pacifica where you are, or down in Redwoods, it doesn't matter. There's a need. I have this fantasy of you guys delivering food, to the villagers on the canal.
Yes.
I don't know if you're going to get away with that, but it would be fun. That would
be great. And we participate in your Christmas tree lighting, and that's always such a beautiful event. We always are there with our kayaks, our canoes, lighting the Christmas tree it's just a beautiful event. Maybe we could just do just a, we're here together event and light the Christmas tree again.
Seriously.
Anyway.
You got a lot of enthusiastic people.
I do.
They put a lot of muscle into moving those canoes. I know it. So,
Thank you.
get them to volunteer, but also if you would spread the word about resources that are available. What happens is, we've got a massive clientele at our agency, the other core agencies, of people who are living a low income and been here for generations. To a great degree, they've learned where they have to access resources, but a lot of people are now going to be in a terrible financial squeeze who've never been there before, never dreamed of it, and they will not know about how to access resources or even if they're available. So what you can spread from the information from our chamber and from our members is going to be really helpful to them. And I would encourage you to get that word out through your channels. I got to say this, and Joanne doesn't pay me to do this, but our chamber has really taken a lead among those in the county. This kind of a call, there are massive ones that they do every day or every week, I should say. The website is really terrific. Value our chamber because they do a fabulous job. Bridget, I have something for you. You there?
I am here. Yes, I'm here.
All right. So you've got a media channel.
Yep.
You know your audience better than any of us, and I know you have an audience because when I've gone on, people have called me up. So I would appreciate whatever you can do to spread the word about both resources that are available to people, but also what the nonprofits and the businesses in our community need. I don't think people realize there are a lot of small businesses that are still allowed to operate, like the restaurateurs, for example, that Joanne mentioned. And supporting them, with takeout meals. These things, people need to know this. This is so unusual. I don't think any of us have ever lived through this before, and you're a major information channel. So I would ask you to pump it out.
Yeah, and thank you for that toss, Bart, because that is exactly what we're here for. We're here to get information out. We are here to help you create content to get your information out. We can record you in your home and put a slide up and make a little 30-second PSA for you. We can air it on the channel. If you have links, we have a COVID page on Penn TV for resources that we've listed all the cities and the chambers and the county on for I agree. Samsita has done a phenomenal job in gathering all the resources. And so their page is very robust, but we've tried to mimic that because people go to different places for the sources, much as like the Foster City Chamber has as well. It's nice to have these resources in different locations for people where people go to search. And we want to be one of those resources. And please send us anything you got. And if it's a PSA, we can get it on the air.
So Bridget, the greedy girl here is going to ask, I think if we can work a little bit offline on that, I would like to be able to push what the potential kind of services are. We don't want to obviously flood, it would be a deluge, but I do think that if we could help architect some messages for the key organizations, and I want to say it that way thoughtfully, every municipality has some key organizations that are the core, whether it's comprised of their people, those who are supporting, or just the reach that we have. And so I am not saying that there is a priority. I'm just saying that there is an understanding and that we need to appreciate that there are different organizations that are entrenched in different municipalities. And I think it would be important, and I would like to be one of those voices with, I would actually say, Dan and Bart for sure, to identify who would those key organizations be servicing Foster City. And if we could then, whether it is a panel or whether it is just a PSA from each, I think we could do that, because your ability to broadcast into the living rooms, and then our ability now with the reach that we have between direct mail and the social media channels that we each have, will allow that message to get there, and we could be more express in our asks as opposed to just a general PSA. Because I think that that's where we all have a responsibility right now, is moving from general information to more specific needs. Because it's getting pretty hard to manage the email flow. Yesterday for me were 1,200 emails. And literally they were all slightly different, but everyone feels the need to brand a piece of, info that comes out as their own. And we're going to be moving away from that. We're going to do our best to try to package. So ours might be a little later than somebody else's, but we're going to try to pick and choose the pieces to put them into a single communication so that you know what to do with it. Because right now it's just kind of drinking from a fire hose. So I want to be mindful of everyone's time. We have about 10 minutes, but we can go as long as we need to. When it comes to the canoe club, my mind is reeling as it goes to the potential. But this is also important, Tanya, that it's not just where we need, and it's kind of what you all do all day. Volunteers want to feel like they're volunteering and that it's not a job that they're doing for free. And these times, it's intense. We are pushing on people in ways that we've never pushed on people before, but where there are interests, and I think Bart had mentioned that to all of us, if there is a way to capture the interests of your people so that we can help match their desire for their interests to match with need, we would like to help you do that. It's not just take. If there is an opportunity, we can try to bridge that gap with you.
Thank you so much. Our name is, in traditional Hawaiian, is one heart, one goal.
That's Hawaiian?
No, it's actually, oh goodness, you're going to make me do this.
Yes.
Okay. Ho'okui puiwa. One heart,
Ho'okui puiwa.
one heart, one goal.
Very nice.
I might have to practice that so I can say that. What have we not addressed, Bart, Dan? These are starting to be a bit of a blur. I know it's a little bit overwhelming. What else can we offer right now?
I think just like we've been talking about, finding communal things that we can do to help each other. I know Bart was talking about masks and things like that. I've kind of actioned a lot of our costumers who do costumes on the stage, and they're starting to become face mask mills. They're just cranking out face masks. So if we need things like that, I would ask that anybody, if you know, Bart or Supriya, if you need stuff like that, please just email the chamber and let them know so that they can kind of filter that information to me. Right now, a lot of the actors and people are starting to build up reserves for the hospitals that need them, Stanford and Peninsula Hospital. But I'm happy to put in a request for a small stack if we need them for you guys as well. As well as one of the first conversations we had with Bart, in the first meeting, he was looking for volunteers, and we're blasting that out to all of our actors who are now unemployed and creatives as well. So if you need more people like that, Supriya, I can definitely do another blast to our group of people who are, some of which are hyper local, to help do that, help facilitate as well.
Paulette, I'm going to kind of do a bit of a call to action to you. Obviously, we had invited, you know, Rotary and other organizations to join us. They're deeply entrenched. Please, you know, convey the network and the ecosystem. We're kind of on the ground with everyone else, just operating slightly differently. And if there are ways in which we can support the organization's reach, you know, please let them know that we're here to do so.
Hey, Dan, I have an idea for you.
Oh?
I mean, my wife and daughter both work with the Foster City San Mateo School District. And believe me, they're struggling like crazy trying to figure out how to do lessons online. But the parents are just learning how valuable teachers really are when they got to be home with their kids all day and try to do their work.
Exactly.
So, you know, you've got performers. If you guys put something together, you know, and put it online to entertain the kids or educate them in some fashion, that would be very cool.
Yeah, we're working on a program like that right now, just to try to get the facilities, you know, and the people involved in it. But one of them we talked about doing is actually having one of our costumers live stream her making the masks and teaching people how to make them. So that will be something that I'll put out. If any of your communities want to be involved in, they can watch and learn. And if they have, you know, old clothes, that's just fabric. Just got to watch it and, you know, wash it and put it together, and then you can help people out. So we're working on stuff. That's great, Bart. Thank you.
All right, any last comments or questions? Everyone have a headache sufficient at this point? Please do make sure you're connected to our resources here. Yes, you can sign up to as many places as you want, but from the hyperlocal, you know, community of Foster City, we're doing our best from the chamber to help you architect from the state to Foster City, which obviously includes the county. And you have, I mean, I can't be more appreciative that Bart has been participating in just about every call, and Dan has been doing the same. And we are doing our best to hear you, to let you know that you're not in it by yourself, and that we don't know the answers, and things are as uncertain for each of us, but we're resilient, and together we're doing, I think, some really great things. So I will encourage you, if you don't have, I think everyone has Mara's email or mine. So Tanya, please, I know in the chat, I'm catching up to chat a little bit. I think Mara's asking for some stuff.
Did.
Great.
She did, and I'll respond. Thank you.
Perfect. And then Bridget, kind of same goes for you. My brain right now, I'm not even going to share with you what's in my brain, but my brain right now I feel like I'm looking at the squares. And just as a quick side note, remember those books? Okay, now I'm going to date myself. My favorite book when I was a little kid was that book that had like the 3 cuts, and you could flip the head with the middle of the body and the lower. Do you remember? Does anybody remember that book?
Oh, yeah.
That is what is happening in my head right now as it relates to the squares of people. And I'm literally like, if I move this one here and I move that there, we can turn it into a whole new world. So
absolutely.
Thank you for all of your help and for all of the service that you're providing your communities. And thank you for spending some time with us to help us better understand how we can help you. And we will look forward to talking to you again very, very soon.
Thank you all so much.
Thank
Take
you.
care.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you so much for all your help.